we are here to discuss how the global powers have taken over or are trying to manipulate and misdirect the world concerning what is happening there. What is happening in Israel is genocide. What is happening there is apartheid. What is happening there is ethnic cleansing. What is happening there is a violation of human rights. And it is known to all. It is now clear. You go to Athens, London, New York, everywhere you go across the world, people are protesting against what is happening. So we have men of the academia and experts or analysts that are going to discuss on this important topic so that we could at least send a message to our immediate environment, Nigeria. But before we go any deeper, I would like to call on Sheikh Abdulhamid Bello to give us an opening prayer. Alhamdulillah. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Good morning, everyone. I wish to welcome you to the one-day seminar on media and the Israeli war on Palestine organized by We are feeling happy to be one of media today as we gather in one of the most pressing and sensitive topics of our time. However, before we proceed, allow me to extend our warm welcome to all our distinguished guests, especially the chairman, Sheikh Abdulhamid Bello, and our esteemed speakers in the persons of Professor Isa Nchezari, Professor Abdullah Ballah, and Dr. Shahid Musa. So also, one welcome to all our participants who can join us from different walks of life, especially our sisters who are highly welcome. We are truly honored to have such a diverse and knowledgeable group gathered in one place, united in the quest for knowledge and understanding. This seminar, inshallah, aims to shed light on the intricate relationship between media manipulation and Israeli war on Palestine. This critical issue affects not only the people in the region, but also has significant global implications. It is essential for us to explore how media narratives can shape public opinion, influence policy decisions, and impact the life of those directly involved. Inshallah, throughout this seminar, we will explore various aspects of media manipulation, including the role of mainstream media, the influence of social media platforms, the power dynamics at play, and the ethical considerations surrounding reporting on conflicts. Our esteemed panel of speakers brings a wealth of knowledge and expertise to the table, ensuring a fruitful and enlightening discussion. Furthermore, this seminar provides a unique opportunity to engage in open dialogue, to challenge existing narratives, and to foster understanding among participants with diverse perspectives and backgrounds. It is through such discussions that we can bridge gaps, dispel misconceptions, and work towards a more informed and just society. Without much further ado, I invite everyone to actively participate, be open to different viewpoints, and approach the discussions with open minds. Let us make the most of this opportunity to deepen our understanding of the media's role in the Israeli war on Palestine, and how we as individuals and as a collective can contribute to a more nuanced and balanced discourse. Once again, a warm welcome to each one of you. We hope that today's seminar leaves you with invaluable insights, fosters meaningful connections, and inspires you to take up the mantle of responsible journalism. I would like to also inform you of our inadequacies during preparing for this
gathering. We hope it will be overlooked, and we hope Allah will help us in our next effort to keep on contributing towards the global awareness effort we are doing now. Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda is we want to abide by the time, strictly by the time. So we'll go straight to the program by inviting our first speaker to commence. The first speaker is going to be Professor Issa Michel Garu, who is an analyst on this particular topic and more, and is a lecturer with the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria. I think I don't need to say much about him. You all know him. So he is going to be the first speaker here, though the program given to me here has not mentioned the topic he's going to deal with. So I think he will introduce it himself. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Hamas was challenged. Why going for a preemptive attack? Why we expected that this war should be a formal war? Hamas replied by saying that yes, its own action was not preemptive, because since 1948 they had been in war. There was no time they have never been in war. So at any time they can react. And that means since the creation of Israel, they have been at war. Both Hamas and Israel now were claiming self-defense. Hamas said she's defending herself, and Israel said she's also defending herself. Hamas said she has the right to defend herself. Israel says she has the right to defend itself. So what happened? What is the reality? All right? Hamas said its action is retaliatory. And Israel also said the same thing. Then who is telling the fact? Where does the fact lies? Who is telling lies? And who is telling the truth? All right? So we need to know who is right and who is wrong. But then we got a hint somewhere looking at this question. Some few days after, the United Nations General Secretary Antonio Guterres, reminded Israel that the Operation Al-Aqsa flood did not come from the air. So it has what? Origin. All right? It has origin, meaning that it had its own root cause. It does not just started just from nowhere. It has somewhere, something triggered it. And what is that thing? What is that thing? That thing could be the genesis of the war. And we are now out to find out what is going to be the genesis of this war, because getting the genesis will lead us to know who is right and who is wrong. And we will also know who is telling the truth and who is telling lies. And also, if we are willing, it will be a starting point for us to solve problems. That's the problem of the conflict. Now, what is the genesis? Getting the hint. What is the hint there? We received one hint from the US President Joe Biden, who identified that the Israeli-Hamas war was a war between civilization and barbarism, identifying Arabs and Muslims as barbaric, while Israel and the West as civilized. This is one point he made. But when you look at this opinion And actually what is going on, this is not a probability of what we are going. We take this one as a probability and then start to look whether Arabs and Muslims are barbaric and whether the West are civilized. I just found that that one is not much related to this war. Then the second one is a message from Chinese government and Iranian foreign minister, which they both condemned what was going on in Israel and in Gaza. And they now said that the origin, the root cause of this problem is that Israel is illegally occupying Palestine. Understand? The illegal occupation of Palestine by Israel is the root cause of this conflict. This is according to the two governments. Now, if that should be the case, then let us now, to me, this is a very good opinion, very good starting point for us to trace where is the problem, because we are interested to know where is the genesis of this problem. Knowing the genesis, we'll be able to solve the problem, like I said. So we have gotten a hint from these two sources. Now, now when we look at it now, we can now say, okay, now let us trace history. Can we find this one from the books of history? So that we know whether it is true, is the occupation, is it true that Israel is illegally occupying Palestine? And is it the root cause of all the problems, the conflict between the two parties or not? Let's look at history and find out. Palestine in history. Tracing the root cause of the conflict. Now, Palestinian land before 1917. Why I chose to start at 1917? Because some important things happened at that particular time. It is a breaking point. Now, before 1917, Palestine was under Ottoman Caliphate, the empire. And subsequently, somehow, there was collapse of that empire, engineered by the colonial powers, which Britain was one. And as such, those countries that formed the former colony that broke out from the empire were shared between Britain and France. And Palestine fell into the share of Britain. So Britain now took control of the area Palestine. Now, what happened then after was that now Palestine is a property or colony of Britain. So after that, at 1917, there was a letter or declaration, which is commonly known as Balfour Declaration, in which a Home Secretary of British government now wrote a letter to the Jewish elite of the Europe that they are now giving them Palestine as their national home, which is commonly known as a Balfour Declaration. This was done without consultation with Palestinians. None of them were aware. So now their home has been submitted, gifted to another group of people who at that time, they were not in Palestine. They were not in the so-called Middle East or West Asia. They were not. the Jews they were referring to, they were in Europe, they were not in Palestine. At that time, before 1917, they were just less than 10% of indigenous Jews. The indigenous Jews that were present there were the escapees of the attack of the Crusaders and the subsequent First War and the Second Wars. They escaped from Europe because of a lot of intimidation. So they now moved to Palestine and they were received and accommodated. So they made the population near to 10% of Palestine. But before they go there again, they were native Jews that were there very, very long time ago. Okay? So the number now has swelled up a little. Now, after giving out this land to the Jews on paper, what happened? Then Palestine in 1940, Palestine just after the war, then Palestine at 1947. What happened at 1947? British government decided to import or export or relocate thousands of European Jews to come and settle in Palestine, its own Palestine. The name was still Palestine. One can clearly go and find out. Just look at the world map of those years. You discover that there's nothing like Israel. What is there is Palestine. Nobody was talking of Israel, even at that time. 1947, nobody was talking about Israel. 1948, even in 1947, their problems started there when they faced a lot of harassment from British government, preparing ground for the establishment of Israel. 1948, it was completely handed over to Israel, to a group of Jews, and they named the country Israel. And they went to the United Nations and formalized everything. So they had the country known as, Israel. On which ground? At that time, there was no specific ground. Because there was no ground, you cannot create. Well, that's not how we create country. Nigeria was not created like this. People were there. So the people that were named after it is a geographical, demarcation. So if there is no area and there is no land, then you cannot name something like this. But few group of people will say, okay, so let's name this country, let's put these people like this. No, it doesn't happen. But colonial masters did this one in several places. Now, what happened after that? After the declaration or making or pronouncement of the country Israel, then the atrocities started. From the far end of Palestine near Haifa, we border with Lebanon. At the end, Syria on this side, and then Jordan on this side. That was where they initially settled, and gradually they started taking over the land. By what? By brutalization, mass killing, destruction, similar, reminiscent to what we now see in our land, Borno State, these Boko Haram areas, and these bandit areas where you see a lot of terrorism, and then that to the extent that people were made to, rush away from their own motherlands. If you go to Niger State, you see similar situations. You will never know how terrible this situation is unless you have ever lived in these areas. I'm from Borno and I experienced this one. It's so very, very, stressful at that time. There was no peace throughout this. There's no one was safe. So that was how it started, and they started bullying, destruction, displacing Palestinians from their own homes and then putting the immigrant Jews into the Palestinian homes, taking the Palestinians into refugee camps. So this was what happened. Eventually, at the end of the day, they created refugee camps. All Palestinians Palestinians living in Palestine are now not living in their original homes. The Gazans are not really Gazans. If you interview any one of them, they will tell you they came from different places. And that's why when they attack Khan Yunus, they say Khan Yunus refugee camp. Jabalia refugees camp. All these places camp, because they are all refugees camp. So they don't have data. So what happened is they now relocated all the Palestinians. All Palestinians are shifted and then, jam-packed into a small area known as Gaza, while very few of them are in the West Bank. And in the West Bank, they are again being, stressed by, controlling, giving them, restricting their movement and activities with a lot of roadblocks, with a lot of walls, separation walls, so they cannot move. So this is what. In 1982, there was that issue of Shabara and Shatila incident in which they massacred a lot of people. A village, 2 villages, settlements, a lot of settlements within a certain area. They massacred them the way they are massacring Gaza now, and they roll over in the night, roll over homes with people inside. Maybe you understand what you say. And all people, you can see bones of people and flesh, mixed with moths of houses. That was what happened. And at the end, people were scared. They terrified people, and so they made people to leave their homes, and they left. After leaving, what? They displaced over 80,000 Palestinians and killed how many? They killed over 3,500. Even at that time, look at the population, 3,500 were killed. Now they display. And these incidents happen time without number in Palestine. People keep on moving. Today, there is Palestinian refugees camp in Syria, many. Palestinian refugees camp in Lebanon. Palestinian refugee camp in Jordan, and Palestinian camps in many other countries outside Palestine. Okay, so it's not going there. Can you hear me now? I'm told that people at the back cannot hear me. So maybe I have to close. Okay. So, So this incident is the first one that happened in 1948, which they call catastrophe or Nakba, which was the first incident that made them fled in large number. And shamelessly, everything was covered. Now this thing, after that, let's look at now Palestine from 1948 or 1948 to date. All these experiences of massacre, mass displacement, destruction of homes, seizure of properties continued from those days to date. There's no day Palestinians have ever rested. No day. As such, let's take a deduction from what I've just said. Now, when we look at the objectives, because we are now trying to say who is right and who is wrong, who is an occupier and who is having the right, rightful owner, the right of property of Palestinian land. Okay? So when we look at the objectives of these battles, we can clearly understand that Palestinians are saying that we want to drive and recover our land. Bring back our people that were detained under some flimsy excuses of administrative detentions. Some of them for more than decades without charge or trial, and they have been in detention. So let's capture their soldiers, then now we seek for exchange of prisoner of wars. That's a good idea. That's what they did. Two was to rescue and recover their land. Three was to frighten, to put fear into the minds of the Jews so that they don't think, they believe that they have, that is, Palestine is their home. Without peace, they will live. Because all of them have their home countries. Okay? They have their home countries. So with this feeling, this is the objective of this operation, Al-Aqsa flood. It's very clear. The objective of the sold iron is also very clear. At the end, after rescuing these people, then you level and then eliminate Hamas. Then again, you relocate the remaining Palestinians. What is this one telling you? So that you take over more land. So land grabbing again continues. This is a clear indication that they are occupiers. Is it not true? They are three real occupiers. Now, and again, what happened is from the list of things we have just discussed, we can clearly say that Israel is truly occupying Palestinian land, because from history there was no Israel before 1948. It didn't exist. And occupation and the occupation of the land and its associated atrocities are the root causes of this conflict. When you occupy the land, you're trying to keep the land, so you bring out some strategies to keep your enemies or your victim far away from you, or to put fear into him and then to suppress him so that he doesn't fight for his right.
So that's Professor Isrxlx from AB Zaria. I would like to recognize the presence of Pastor Wannan and also Barrister Haruna Magashi. Haruna Magashi is representing Orphans and Women Foundation, who organized a rally on this Palestine issue in Cairo, but were not allowed to hold. So I will also manipulate the program by inviting Pastor Yohana Boru, who has an excuse to wants to leave. He has another program elsewhere. So I think since he's going to speak later, I want him to say something before our next speaker. Thank you, Pastor Yohana. We have the floor.